Hi, we're Oxygen Conservation, and this is the Shoe Room Sessions. Athlete, likes throwing weights around, got a PhD in data and a British accent. It's like you tick the bingo card to be a US startup. We should probably start by telling people who you are and where we are.
Yes. I'm Carrol, I'm the Chief Operations Officer for BrewDog. Been with the company 7 years, and we are in BrewDog Edinburgh Doghouse, which is our hotel, one of 4 hotels we have based in the centre of Edinburgh.
It's such a cool space. Thank you very much for having us in here.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is brilliant. Just every bit of the branding and stuff is just on point, from the furniture to the books on the table. I love it. It's such a super cool space.
The sweeties.
Yeah, there is pick and mix off camera, so this is going to be a problem by the time we're done. Is the COO title a new one for you?
It is very new. So I'm probably 6 months in now.
Okay.
So yeah, I've had an interesting path through BrewDog.
Yeah.
So
well, start before that. What was the beginning? What do we need to know about a young Lauren to know the person we've got here now?
So born and bred in Aberdeen. Studied biochemistry at uni.
Because?
Do you know what? I just love science. Loved it. And I think didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. So I
don't
thought
think anyone knows what they want to do.
So go and study something you love and then work it out later. So love science. Studied biochemistry, sort of specialised in immunology. Loved that. But I think didn't necessarily want to get into science. I think I'm too much of a control freak for science and research. You can't necessarily control your own destiny. So loved it, but wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. So living in Aberdeen, naturally oil and gas is where you go.
Yeah.
So when I was at uni, actually I worked for the Department for Work and Pensions. So that was interesting, like very different uni type job.
Terrible.
But yeah, it was awful. But very flexible, but very, very good.
It's a lovely way of putting it. I heard a quote yesterday from an amazing guy we podcasted with called David Hill. He said, the public sector is culturally unable to work with business. I thought, what a beautifully polite way of putting it.
You know, I think it was character building because you were dealing with the public in a capacity. So
was that the first time you'd done that? You hadn't worked sort of hospitality or anything before that?
Tesco.
Okay.
Yeah, Tesco for 8 years. Loved that. So, you know, I had a couple of jobs when I was at uni.
Yeah.
Worked at Tesco from literally 16 and didn't actually leave there until I graduated. So that was a long-term labour of love. And then, another job last couple of years at uni at the Department for Work and Pensions. So, yeah, interesting.
Cool.
But so graduated being in Aberdeen, oil and gas. So did a project management graduate scheme, a company called Stork. And I had lots of jobs there, like worked in different areas, like really good graduate scheme that you do lots of different things. And then ended up, when I finished, I was there for 6 years, I was the business improvement manager. So worked across like a number of different projects and efficiencies, and I did Lean Six Sigma and all that kind of good stuff. So loved it. I was doing an MBA when I was there and I had 1 year to go. And a job came up at BrewDog. So like being in Aberdeen, you know the brand very, very well. You know, at uni, you study the brand, you talk about it at school. And a job came up as a continuous improvement project manager. So it was a bit of a step down, but I was like, this is brilliant. I'm going to go for a year, going to get experience in manufacturing, because that wasn't the background I had, in another industry. I'll do that. Graduate my MBA, back to oil and gas I go, and it didn't quite pan out like that.
Fascinating.
It's been good. So been at BrewDog for 7 years, it's almost 7 years today. And I've had a number of different jobs. I've been super, super lucky. So started in supply chain, then went into like a broader operational sort of project type role. I spent a bit of time in IT. You know, we had gaps, and I was the head of IT for a little while.
So how did that happen? Did you become the fixer with things, or did you reach out and say, I'd like to do that? Or?
Yeah, I was kind of the fixer. Yeah. So my role in that continuous improvement project manager role was like a brand new role. So it was like a bit of a fixer. It was like looking at ways to make things more efficient. And I think it was at that inflection point where the company had grown really quickly, and like I didn't necessarily have all the processes and the rigor and the structure around things. So that was kind of like partly why my role came in.
Literally did that job in the Environment Agency for 3 years. I was the sort of person that got lent out to each of the senior directors when they had a nightmare problem, and I would fix something in different parts. It gives you such a breadth of things, right?
Yeah, did a number of different things, which was super, super interesting. And then, I had one role which called Special Projects, which was the most weird and wonderful. So
Literally anything and everything.
So one of those elements was actually looking after our sustainability initiatives, which we'll talk blocks about today.
Yeah.
It was a mixed bag, and I worked for our founder, James Watt. So I'm sure you can imagine there was lots of weird and wonderful things that
We
we
talked
did.
about earlier, and James's book was one of the first business books out, probably because it wasn't a business book, or it's kind of a hybrid, right? And I think it was one of the first that made boring, dry business context acceptable and accessible to people in an interesting way. So shout out to that book, James. It was really cool.
No, it's a good book. So did lots of weird and wonderful things in the special projects job, and then a lot of those naturally had a marketing edge. And I would never ever have thought I would ever thought I would have went into marketing, because I'm like,
Scientist.
Excel, data girl, scientist. So but yeah, a lot of them had a marketing edge, and I think we do so much from a brand and market perspective that you kind of need to look at it as a bit of an operation. Somebody, our marketing director, left at the time, so I was like, I can help plug the gap.
And the person that left for you to fill that role, had they been there?
Yeah, quite a long time. Yeah, and I worked really closely with them, so like knew the team, and it was like, right, I'll hold it for a couple of months until we find someone. And then a couple of months in, I was like, oh, I quite like this. This is good, and it was interesting. I think like from always having like a project type role that you kind of get immersed in all the details, this was more of it actually like step back, think more strategically, surround yourself with people who are brilliant at those things, because I'm not a copywriter, I'm not a designer. So it was the first time you couldn't really dive in and do everything. You had to really leverage the skills around the people and the skills around you. So it was interesting.
Did you, going into that, did you recognize you were going to have to change your way of working ahead of time, or only once you were in it?
Yeah, I think it was definitely different. I think all the kind of previous people I'd managed, you'd done their role. So it was very different managing a group of people whereby not only had you not done their role, you could never do their role. So it was a different way of working, and I guess a different way you kind of manage people. But no, loved it. So yeah, I was marketing director, and at the time, marketing was like sort of more PR and product, and other elements of marketing sat in different departments. And then over the course of sort of 3 years, we took all facets of marketing into one place, and we went from having like external agencies to build an internal team. So I was then CMO for a couple of years, and then 6 months ago, things changed. Our CEO moved on. Our CFO, James Taylor, became our CEO, and I became our COO. So
Love the acronyms.
It's been so it's been good. So James and I work, James Taylor and I work very, very closely together. But my remit is kept marketing, look after our people function, look after our bars, our USA German business, and part of our supply chain. So
tiny job.
It's a mixed bag, but it's amazing.
When it sounds like when you were in that special projects role, you were very close to founder, CEO. And when I've done roles like that, what's great is you're getting the information on everything, okay? What I love about that step towards across the marketing is that's probably the only step you can make, because where I've seen it challenging before, someone's done a special role and then they've gone into finance or into audit or something else, and then they go from the full breadth to being really narrow. But marketing sees virtually everything as well, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, it was like really, really collaborative. It was like kind of part commercial, part strategy. Obviously the sustainability piece was such a big part of our brand, so you were involved in the operational aspects of that. No, I loved it, and I actually think because we are a brand-led business, actually having more of an operational background was really helpful to kind of make sure you keep things on track. You're doing things that are smart and there is a return on investment. And like I said, not getting, I wasn't getting caught up in trying to design the next can. I wish I could, but I'd be useless.
So a brand-led business is a lovely phrase. Bring that to life for people on a day-to-day basis. How would a brand decision be made? How important was protecting the brand and the ethos?
Oh, it's hugely important. I think like the brand has always been about, I think it's the beer and the product and the quality of that product and the community. Like that's always been the kind of two like founding principles we've always had. And I think that gives you like such a clear North Star when you make every decision. And I think that's definitely helped us. But yeah, it's definitely all about all about the product and the quality, but I guess also like the attitude and, you know, the visual identity of the brand and the tone of voice. Like, yeah, super, super
It was
important.
definitely a period where you were working in the coolest brand in the country, right? Like, and doing the coolest job at the coolest time. So that's pretty special.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
When the business is talked about and thought about, are there set sort of chapters and time periods that you think about its evolution? So you mentioned about the sort of 3 years in the CMO role. It sounded like that was a real scaling, growing up, professionalizing part of the business. How was that sort of talked about?
Yeah, do you know what? It's like we're definitely on that journey. If we think back to God, 18, 20 years ago, like the business was, you know, tiny. It was James and Martin, you know, they were trying to create noise and everything was about the beer.
Yeah.
And, you know, the enemy was big beer, and, you know, it was really about making the brand famous. And I think craft beer, you know, wasn't really a thing in the UK
it
at the
literally
time.
made a market for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And it was like, it wasn't just about selling a beer, it was like changing people's perception of
That's
beer.
literally why I felt an affinity to the brand, certainly at that point, because we're trying to put a value on having a better environment and nature. No one's tried to do that before, and they've pushed back against it. So in the same way that you guys are trying to get people to want and have craft beers, we're trying to do that about having people think about the environment in a different way.
Yeah, no, I love that. No, and I think, you know, at the time it was about, you know, trying to connect with those people that were looking for craft beer, who tried it in America or other parts of the world, and connect with them, make the brand famous and get them to buy the beer. And, you know, as we've grown and we're now, you know, not far off a household name, certainly in the UK, it's now about how, you know, people know who BrewDog is, but don't necessarily know it's a beer for them. So that's the big pivot. It's not just about kind of, you know, shock and awe to you know, get your name out there. It is about how can you convince people that they're gonna love our beer, and like we've got such a breadth of range. And that's what we've done over the years, is like, how can we bring out different styles of beer that appeal to all different types of beer drinkers, people who still like, who want that 18% imperial stout and love all that those interesting niche beers, but also people who just want like a really easy light drinking lager.
Yeah.
Like that's the job now, is to kind of convince people of that.
What everyone talks about experimentation now and trialing things and failing fast and stuff. And I think you're one of the first businesses to do it. I think what is annoying sometimes though is people don't recognise that causes mistakes and errors. I remember seeing a piece that founder James put out about the advertisement campaigns that had gone wrong. And I love that, because who else goes, hold on, we tried 50 things, 10 of them bombed, 10 were amazing, some were in the middle. And I love that honesty.
Darts. Yeah, you do. You've got to fire some darts. And I think, you know, even sometimes now, you know, we have to remind ourselves, you know, you can look back at all the incredible campaigns you know you did in the past, and you do need to remember, yeah, but there was, you know, another 30 that supported them. So
you don't get the good without the bad though, or you just get dull.
But you learn a lot. You know, like I think in my time as CMO, there's a couple campaigns, many that I'm so proud of and loved. Others that I look back and I'm like, oh God, but I actually learned more from those than the good ones. You know, there's one in particular that we did, that we worked with an amazing agency, and they took it in a direction, and like gut feel it wasn't quite right, but you were like, right, we're paying this agency a lot of money, like they're experts in this. And, you know, I think it's one, like, nobody knows your brand as well as you, and just follow your gut. And, you know, I think that after that moment, we're like, no, I want to build the team internally. And
I was genuinely going to ask, was that the catalyst?
That was definitely the big moment of like, build a team of phenomenal people. And like, I've been so fortunate in my journey, and I like, there's so many stories like mine of people who've progressed, and that's the magic like of BrewDog, and that's the people that absolutely thrive. And, you know, so we've went from, rather than parachuting in, you know.
What was the size of the business when you joined versus now? Do you remember?
Oh God, I don't remember. But yeah, significantly smaller.
I think that ethos of trial something, do it different, it's okay if we get it wrong. I don't think you get an environment that develops talent and grows their own unless you have that culture. Because if you're not prepared to make mistakes, you won't give young people opportunities. So we have an awesome intern program. So bear in mind, we're 4 years old as a business. We're tiny, right? We had 2,000 applicants to our intern program last year.
Wow.
Whereas a lot of jobs in the environment sector get very few applicants whatsoever. And we've got sort of 10 people in their early 20s who are astonishing, who are going to be six-figure directors in a few years. And I've already said to a number of them, when you've had enough here, I will fund your startup because you're amazing. We're only getting that because we give them, from day one, they are straight in on every conversation. We talk about radical transparency, which one of my business partners pulls me up on because he said transparency shouldn't be radical. But it is in most businesses. And whereas
term that we use a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
No, I completely agree. Oh, I love this people. We've got so many of our designers, but there's a couple that come to mind. And you're like, you are phenomenal.
You just know, right?
Wait to see
it's like
what you
stardust, not their magic.
Yeah, and it's like not being scared that like you will outgrow us, but like, God, I'm going to love working with you in that for that period.
I literally 2 rules about recruitment. So I don't sit on every panel anymore, but I meet everyone before they start. Still, we're small enough for that. If the team who have met, so 7 people in the team minimum meet a candidate so that they know what they're getting and vice versa, because we're such a close culture. If every person does not say they're a hell yes, it's a no. And they've got to be able to say to me, this person is better than us at or in this way. Because otherwise your business is getting worse.
No, love that. No, I've definitely got the same ethos as that, anyone that works for you, you want to know that they could do a better job than you ever could in their role, and you'd be happy to work for them.
Well, as a founder, every time you hire someone, you should be sacking yourself from a part of that business. So I'm like, I've sacked myself 30 times. So you mentioned your remit also included the sustainability side of stuff.
It's always something, probably from our roots, from when the company was born, it was important in the context of the brewery. So like all the decisions made around building the brewery and how we made the beer were always pretty sustainable. So it was really like already quite heavily baked into the culture.
Do you think that's financial, moral, ethical, all of the above?
I think it was just like, both James and Martin, I think they just thought that way. And, I think the kind of two, great quality beer and making those right decisions, sourcing the right ingredients, like they kind of went a little bit hand in hand. Like it was the right thing to do, the ethical thing to do, but also it actually was the best thing for the product. So I think that definitely helped. And then genuine story was a handful of the leadership team went to a dinner hosted by David Attenborough, and I obviously spoke about climate change and all these things, and then we left. And I guess there was this realization that we should be doing like a lot more. And that kicked off this big sustainability program. So we'd already been doing a lot, but it kind of almost put like a big umbrella around it. And we really sort of turbocharged this project to look at how we could decarbonise the brewery. And like number one priority for us has always been about reducing our own emissions. That's been where most of the energy and effort and the conversations around is how do we reduce our own impact? And of course, look at our scope 3, our suppliers' emissions, but like really what can we do? What is our brewery and our facilities doing, and how can we make them more sustainable? But then what we couldn't reduce, we thought, right, well, let's try and offset. And then that kind of kicked off, right, well, how can you best offset? So we worked with a advisor to get some amazing carbon credits, and we supported some amazing projects. And then we got to a place where like, we'd love to do this ourselves, which led us to the Lost Forest. That was one of the reasons that we bought it. One was for that kind of that offsetting, that kind of wanted nature-based projects in our portfolio. But also like community's always been so important to us. Like we've grown through crowdfunding. We've got 220,000 equity for banks. So buying somewhere that's on our doorstep that obviously does that kind of decarbonisation job, but actually like is a great thing for the community and the local people. And we've taken our teams there and our community there, and it was amazing.
Which came first, the title, The Lost Forest, or did you find the site first and then gave it the title?
It was quite a quick process,
as most
brewery things are. But no, I think we very early on knew we wanted to call it the Lost Forest. So we had a beer in our portfolio, Lost Lager, and we always spoke about sustainability in the context, so it just kind of made sense to call it that.
Excellent. So the chapter of having the Lost Forest is coming to a close.
Yeah.
And that's why we're sat talking together. Why now? Why the decision to sell now?
Oh, I think like we're super proud of what we've done with the forest, like really, really proud. And I think like whilst I think we're at a place whereby we're really happy with what we've done, you know, we're happy with the legacy we've left. And now our focus is really on our own facility. And we would just love to hand it over to an organisation who can take it to that next level. So yeah, delighted that we're having this conversation.
When the conversation was had about bringing it to market, was there any thought about who a buyer might be?
100%, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
Because I'm going to hazard a guess, you didn't know we existed.
No.
So who did you think and hope a buyer might be?
Do you know, I guess we thought there could be someone who bought it like us.
Yeah.
That it wasn't their bread and butter, but they were doing it because it was part of their kind of sustainability efforts, and they would bring a brilliant partner in, like we did with Scottish Woodlands. So that would have been great. But when I heard that you guys were an option, genuinely delighted, because like you guys are obviously, this is what you do. This is, you know, what you're passionate about, what you're amazing at. You've got those amazing case studies. So no, genuinely, I don't think there could be a better partner.
You're very kind, thank you. When we went to see the place, so we have seen more than 100 estates to buy the 13 we have. We were blown away by the quality of delivery. So there'll always be critics on every project. We've got them in every single place now. Too many trees, not enough trees. Too high fencing, too short fencing. If you listen to every view, you just stand still out of fear of changing it. But when we went there, we were like, oh my word, this is way, way better, way more special, beautifully delivered and positioned. And you know, we were talking before we started rolling about how you've got a large area of existing mature woodland in the valley that opens up into this incredible like glacial gorge where the new woodland's going, and it is just magical.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is such a super place.
We've done some team meetings there. We've done like nice
Have you been on the trips
barbecues.
mountain biking out there?
Yeah, I didn't go mountain biking personally. Terrifying.
Oh, not for you?
Oh, exhausting. Honestly, no, it's beautiful. No, we've done a lot of community things there, and we've tried to use the space, and yeah, it's amazing. I will miss it.
We can still come back and visit.
I'll definitely want to visit. It's beautiful.
Our plans are very much to just take it that next step furthest to where you got to. So more woodland restoration, more peatland restoration, and in time, I think there's an opportunity to introduce more ecotourism there. So whether it's glamping pods or huts and additional property, I just think our model is very much restore the environment, get it resilient and robust and sustainable, and then welcome people back as much as possible.
And that's the exact reason why, like, this is the right decision, because that's what we've always wanted to do. But you know, we're a global business with bars and brands, and like you know, you need to kind of prioritize. So I think
we wouldn't be very good at running a pub. I mean, some of the team would actually. That would be fine. I would not be very good at running a pub. What are you most excited about the next chapter now? So we close the Lost Forest chapter for you guys. What's the next year, 18 months look like that you're excited about?
You know, so what I would say is like it's by no means like our sustainability journey is done in any way. Like it will be really about focusing on our own brewery and our own operations. Like we've done some incredible things. Like we built an AD plant by the brewery. So yeah, there's multiple phases of that project to come. So that's super exciting. But yeah, more broadly, yeah, it is about the beers. You know, we've got our core range, Punk IPA, Hazy Jane, Lost Lager, and others, just about how we can really grow those. You know, we're doing really well in grocery, in the on-trade, and then super excited about our own bars. So just took on our own bar 6 months ago. So yeah, we're constantly looking at how we can sort of, evolve and, you know, do more amazing things like this. We launched a new vision just earlier this year, which is to be the most exciting beer business in the world. So like, how do you look at everything through that lens? Like, what is the most exciting things happening? Beer, hospitality, people, community, buzzy marketing ideas. So it's been fun. The team have currently got their thinking caps on.
I love the audacity of putting that on paper. So many people are, oh no, be a good beer company, or like, where it's like, no, be the most exciting.
It's not the most profitable, the biggest. It is, let's be the most exciting.
That's something that people can get out of bed and come to work for.
So yeah, that's the big focus just now. How does that come to life in every single part of the business? So from crazy buzzy ideas with beers and doing things that are a bit weird and wonderful to like, how do we introduce like amazing touch points in our bars, and what's the kind of great benefits for our team, and team building things that we do. Just it's a nice it's a fun red thread for us to be working to.
So this is me just asking advice about our business now, right? So we're in a pretty rapid scaling phase in terms of the business, and into sort of that second or third chapter of what we do. What are the things that you've liked the most with additional scale, and what are the things that you're a little bit sad you've lost?
I think culture is one that evolves as the business grows, and I think it was, and again, I think this is scale, but also like the new world post COVID. We used to do lots of, we had this thing called Punk O'Clock. Every Friday, everyone sat down and had a beer together at 4 o'clock. And there was lots of little things like that. And I think as the world evolved, as we've got bigger, we've got a lot of remote workers here. Like at times you've lost that connection that you used to have.
Yeah.
So I miss that. However, we're very much right. What does that look like in 2025? When you do have a world of remote workers, you do have most people are working from home on a Friday afternoon. How do you bring that together? But I guess what I love about the scale is the opportunities it's brought for people. And like I said, there's lots of people who have had similar journeys to me and had that experience. And people are getting to travel all over the world and opening sites like this. And yeah, I think like God, I don't know how many beers we've launched in my time, but you don't get over seeing like that new product being in Tesco. You never quite get over that buzz.
When you walk past it on the shelf, there's a pinchy moment.
Yeah,
Like,
it's amazing. Yeah, and like especially now, like we obviously activated in grocery stores, when I joined 7-8 years ago. But now you're like walking in, it can be like the big front of store feature spaces and all that good stuff. And like just on Wednesday, actually, I was at an event at London Stadium, we're the new program partner for West Ham in London Stadium.
I saw some photos from James of this. It looked incredible.
It was amazing, and it's like so it's things like that. They come with this scale and they're amazing, but we still execute them in the way we used to.
With the audacity and the ambition and the boldness that's there, have you had to have those challenges as you've got bigger from the more conservative investors and board members and people like, should we pull it back a bit? And how have you approached those conversations to give them the confidence of staying true to that culture?
Do you know what? Our board and investors are like very, very supportive. And I think they can see better than anyone like the strength of the brand, so that they definitely give us that space. But I think as the senior team and the executive team evolved, you've got different personalities, different backgrounds, and so you get that right focus on like protect the brand at all costs, don't lose the essence of who you are. But you need to be a bit more grown up and have the right processes and the right financial rigor, and make sure that you are driving the right efficiencies and cost savings or whatever else. So I think we've got a good balance, but they're immensely supportive. So they kind of give us that space and I guess trust us to make sure we're doing both the kind of weird and wonderful and wacky things, but also the right sort of the right commercial decisions have been made too.
A big focus for us next year is starting to look at the US side of things. So I've been invited out to some cool stuff in London and New York Climate Week, and we're thinking about what the next evolution of our assets might look like over there. You've done that. You've stepped across into the US. When you go from being, and I don't know if that was pre your time or during your time when you first went
just before.
Just before. What are the key things when you start thinking about multiple geographies and time zones? And
I think big learning for us is just recognizing who your brand is and what works in one place isn't necessarily gonna translate. So like as an example, like we have got great awareness as a brand in the UK, but in Ohio, which is our home state, it's small. It's still very much growing. And
small in the US is still big though, right?
And even like what like humor and how things land and how things are perceived are different. So, and I think there was maybe periods of time whereby we kind of like cherry picked bits from the UK. Like we love this from the UK, so let's do it in the US. Whereas now it's like, no, let's actually, who are we in the US? What's our community there? What's the market like there? How do do things that are true to the brand? But we are cautious of that
so kind of like
translation.
Overlap as opposed to the same.
Yeah. Definitely,
interesting.
definitely.
Is there a geography across the globe that the brand is the most similar to the UK? Is the one where it works the best?
You know, I think in Europe, it's very much the same products, like Punk IPA, Hazy Jane, Wingman, which is session IPA that we push. And I think, there the brand is, the craft beer markets aren't quite as mature as it is in the UK. So it is more similar, but we're not necessarily trying to win like a more mainstream consumer there. It is just talking to craft beer. So yeah, probably there. But yeah, Germany, we've got a brewery. And again, a little bit different. You want to try and lean into the kind of local nuances, local communities. We brew more lagers and more styles that the German consumer likes. And then USA again, it's looking at what styles and trends are happening in the US and how do we do things that's true to the brand, but will work in that market. But we do like our flagship products are in all territories. But I think we know when we need to slightly adapt and do something different.
So in terms of the structuring, do you have direct reports out in those individual geographies as well?
Yeah.
How on earth do you make that work in terms of time zones and being a good leader to them?
So we have phenomenal people leading those businesses. We've got a phenomenal country director, Dom, who he's worked in our bars for years and years, ran our German bar business, and then's now taken on the whole business, so the brewery and the bars, and he's phenomenal. And they're people that you trust, you give them that
That's the
space
key,
and
right?
authority. I think like you hire brilliant people and you don't tell them what to do. You just you be there to support them. So no, it works well. I would love to be there more face to face, but yeah. Like it really works.
How far ahead is your calendar plan?
Like not a couple months, but not crazy.
Really?
We're quite agile. Yeah.
Okay.
No, things can change. These trips. So yeah, we're doing. This is 2026 planning time. So my US trip. So James Taylor and I were doing US for a week and then Germany for 3 days. So yeah, they've been in the diary.
And are those days military precision, like I'm doing this? Does it look like this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the color coding,
Okay.
but that busy. Yeah. That busy. Yeah.
There's no other way to do it, I don't think.
No, I'm militant with my emails, diary. But no, and I think things like Teams and like we chat on WhatsApp and it's
What
relaxed.
does when people talk to you about work-life balance, what do you say to that?
Yeah, do you know, I think work hard, work a lot, but I love it and enjoy it.
I mean, you have an amazing job, right? You have a job that people would kill to get. And one of the phrases I like is, everyone wants the view, no one wants
I
to
love
climb.
that. Yeah, I've seen that video quite a bit.
Yeah, it's not easy to get to, right? Like,
No, it's been
you've got to work really hard to get there.
hard graft. But no, love it, and have been lucky to work with people who have.
I was
backed
literally
me.
about to ask you about that word.
Yeah.
How much do you think luck has to play versus? So if you've got to put the proportion there, what percentage is hard work?
Yeah.
What percentage is luck?
Oh, I'm going to say 70% hard work.
Yeah.
Minimum. But no, I think I joined the business at a really interesting time, and I think I've worked with people who like just give you that. They'll just take a chance on you, and you get put into jobs that I think the luck is that I've had phenomenal managers who trust that you do not have all the qualifications on paper, you don't have the experience, but they give you that shot. And that's what I try to do with my team, is that hire for the right behaviors and attitudes rather than CV all the time.
How do you learn stuff? What's your preferred method of new ideas and absorbing things?
Being in the thick of it, I think like what my favorite thing in the world actually is like a new problem area where you know nothing about it, you dive in and immerse yourself in it, and hopefully in 3 to 6 months time you're almost like the expert in it. Sustainability for me was a really interesting one, because that was at a time whereby we were doing lots of stuff and needed someone to kind of pull it all together. So it was surround yourself with wonderful people, get an advisor, ask millions of questions, listen to podcasts on the driving into the office, like
it's the scientist. You're gathering everything that exists and you're narrowing it down. You're like, right, brilliant. And do you have that moment where it's something like, and you're like, right, gathering, starting to piece together, I feel comfortable in this now. And
definitely.
then the idea presents
And
itself.
I think it's just always knowing what you don't know And I'm comfortable with that. I think it's like, if I know what I don't know, then you know to ask. You know who you need around you to fill those gaps.
Other than me, you're the only other person I've met who comes from a scientific data background and has ended up with a love of marketing and brand. Because people assume if you can use a spreadsheet, you have no idea about visual presentation or the quality or a brand side of stuff. But I think they do logically cross over. I just think we're quite, maybe we're the unicorn-esque people of this that are rare enough.
Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
My final question I always ask, what is the one question I haven't asked you wish I had?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The one that's coming to mind is I don't really want to answer.
They're often the best ones.
Yeah. I guess biggest fear, like in a role, like what makes you nervous right now? No one needs to answer it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think if the question was like, what keeps you up at night? I think it's always that.
Strikes me you sleep pretty well though.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love a good sleep.
Yeah.
I love the data, obviously. Yeah, what keeps me up at night? I think it's such an exciting brand, and how do you keep that going? And I think it's always that challenge of like, are we doing enough? Are we doing enough to make the business as efficient as possible and treat our team well and make sure our shareholders get the right return, but are we also doing enough to keep the brand relevant and fun and engage our communities and have sites? So there's always that wrestle of like, is it enough?
That's because for you it isn't ever. Like there's always, you always think you can do more, you can get the next thing, you can get the next thing. And it's that dynamic, that energy is so addictive. It's like more. Yeah. And because I can outthink it, I can outwork it, I'll just do more. It'll always keep presenting itself. Have you ever met the podcaster Chris Williamson?
No, I haven't.
So one of his quotes is, you have already exceeded all the objective goals and achievements you said would make you happy, and you still want the next one. And the next one.
Totally.
And I get it. I feel the exact same way. I almost, when you were thinking of the question, I was going to say, when is it enough? And the answer is it's not. Yeah. You just don't know why.
No, totally. I think genuinely, I quite often say this to my team, or in crew reviews we call them like appraisals, or if I'm interviewing someone, like genuinely, like I've never actually focused on like what's the next job. Like I'm always just in the moment about how can I do the best possible job? How can we make it work as hard as possible? How can we make that campaign better? How can we make it grow faster? Whatever it is, and then naturally those sort of things just happen. So
we were having a conversation earlier. We've got a potential huge transaction coming up in the future, other than this deal, of course. and the team asked, what will we then do? And I'm like, well, the next one.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. No, like, I think that's what's so exciting about, my job and for the team is like, it's maybe a bit naive, but genuinely, like, I really, really hope that, like, BrewDog took craft beer to UK and we established it and grew the category, which is amazing. But like, what's the next evolution of beer? In a world where people are drinking less, they're trying to moderate more, what's the next evolution? Like really, really, like I hope we are front, and think we will be front and center of that. And again, with hospitality, that space is changing and moving. How can we be at the forefront of that whilst being, the best employer we can be, whilst making sure we make all the right business and ethical and sustainability decisions? It's exciting.
Love it. Lauren, thank you so much for finding the time to sit with us.
Thank you.
I'd be amiss if I didn't say thank you to you and James for trusting us with the next chapter of the estate and being so involved in making what is going to be a absolutely amazing deal come through. So thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.